In today's video, we're going to talk about how to make an offer on a house. Hi, I'm Annette Kershner.
And I'm Annette Maldonado.
And we're with Northern AZ team at HomeSmart Professionals here in the beautiful heart of downtown Flagstaff, Arizona.
Thanks for joining us on our weekly video. We love sharing information with buyers and sellers about the real estate industry and this beautiful city we love, Flagstaff, Arizona. Every week, we like to answer questions that you might have, and so today we're going to answer one of them.
In today's video, we're going to go over making an offer on a home and the steps to putting your offer in. We are also going to go over the questions that we are asked so often, and that question is, how much should I offer on a house so the seller will accept my offer? So if you want to hear more, stick around. First, you need to ask yourself, what type of real estate market are you buying in? Is it a market where it's a buyer's market, or is it a seller's market? Flagstaff is a seller's market, and it is a very fast pace currently among buyers who made official offers on homes. And nationally, about 45% of offers have multiple offers, or they're in a backed up position, eventually being able to purchase a home. That's the case in Flagstaff and the Sedona real estate market. Inventory is low and the demand is high. Therefore, it's a seller's market.
In a seller's market, you may be competing against other buyers, which raises the stakes and makes it especially important to move quickly if you find the perfect home. If you find one you love, please work fast, because in this market, there is no time for a few days or a week to think about it, because by then, your dream home will be sold.
Submitting an offer on a house is a process filled with excitement, hope, and anxiety, especially if you have fallen in love with a home and you feel like you can't live without it. So when you have found a home that you love and you want to put an offer in, here's how the process typically works.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. It's really all about the numbers. So do you have enough money for the down payment? And if you have been pre-approved already by a loan officer, by a lender, then your lender has already provided you with information to help you determine if you can afford the estimated monthly payment and what you can really afford. Also remember, you have to factor in property taxes, HOA fees, insurance, and maintenance.
If you have not spoken to a lender, now is the time to do it. Do this before you start your home search. That way, your lender will be able to determine the price range of homes you can comfortably shop for. You and your realtor can then search for homes in the price range and within your budget. Many sellers are not allowing buyers to tour their homes without a pre-qualification form for precaution reasons during this COVID time. Many sellers are only allowing seriously qualified buyers to enter their home. Having a pre-qualification letter from your lender tells the seller that you are creditworthy and you are a serious buyer.
Your realtor should run comparables, identifying similar homes in the area to help you get a feel for an appropriate offer price. Your realtor should determine what homes have sold within the last 6 months, within that same neighborhood, within the same square footage, and with very similar upgrades. This information will give the buyer a better understanding of what price they should offer. But keep in mind that there are going to be other offers submitted by other buyers.
So now is the time to determine your offer price, any contingencies if you have them, and the timeline. If you need room to negotiate, you might want to initially offer a little bit lower than the list price. The seller may counter you until both buyer and seller agree on the purchase price. You will also need to determine your desired close of escrow date and what contingencies you will be including in your offer, if any. And keep in mind, Buying a home are you in a seller's market or a buyer's market?
In a competitive market where multiple offers are submitted, contingencies and timelines can be a deciding factor on whether a seller will take your offer. They also can be deal breakers. In Arizona, your offer should be submitted on an AAR residential purchase contract. Your agent will draw up this offer for you, review all the details, and then you can sign or even sign electronically before you submit it to the seller. The document may become a legally binding contract if the seller accepts your offer. So what happens next?
Or upon reviewing your offer, the seller might accept your offer as it is, decline your offer altogether, or a counter offer to start the negotiating process. If the seller accepts your offer, they will sign the purchase contract. If they reject the offer, negotiations end. If they continue and counter, then you can either accept that counter or counter back to them.
It's common for negotiations to go round and round, back and forth with the buyer and seller, providing counterbacks back and forth. Price isn't always the only thing that's negotiated. You might also find yourself negotiating repairs, contingencies, and the closing timeline.
When both parties sign and agree to the terms in the contract, this is called an executed contract. This becomes a legal binding contract. Both parties agree to the details, including the price, inspections, negotiating repairs, and close dates. Assuming that all goes well with contingencies and financing and closing, you will be a homeowner in about 30 to 45 days.
Here's this week's big question that I'm asked all the time. And that is, how much should I offer on a house so that the seller will accept it? And the answer to that is, the best way to entice a seller into accepting your offer, or at least considering a counteroffer, is by offering their full listing price. But in a competitive market or a multiple offer situation, you may need to offer more than the asking price. If you like this video, we think you're going to like our other video, which is First Time Buyer Tips, Part 1. Not all homes sell for their initial asking price, and not every home is priced correctly. So before you break the bank and bust into your budget, consider some non-price related ways to strengthen your offer in a competitive market. And that's where your agent should be able to talk to the listing agent about what to make on that offer to make it more appealing to satisfy that seller.
In Flagstaff, homes sell for 97% of list price. This number varies from market to market, and in some competitive markets, the typical home will fetch more than the listing price, and some lower moving areas, the typical home will fetch a less price. Your agent should be able to help you gauge the market conditions.
Consider using an escalation clause in your offer. In a multiple offer scenario, the last thing you want to do is assume that the other buyer is paying above the listing price and submit a higher offer based on that assumption. You might get the property, but you might end up realizing that you could have bought it for a lot less. So ask your agent about including an escalation clause with your offer, which states that you'd be willing to pay a specific dollar amount over the seller's next highest offer. So don't be afraid to do this, because you can always put a limit on the price you are comfortable.
Here's an example. A home is listed for $250,000 and it has 3 other offers. You submit an offer for $250,000 with an escalation clause that says you'll pay $1,000 more than the highest offer, up to a maximum price of $260,000. Then, if the buyer comes in at $255,000, you'll automatically offer $256,000 to secure the deal without going over the maximum amount you are comfortable with spending.
Sellers also love it when you can accommodate their timeline. So if a seller needs a quick close and you are sure that you really want to buy their home, try to accommodate their schedule as much as possible. For some sellers, like someone relocating for work or buying another home, timeline is even more important than the price.
In a competitive market, waiving contingencies can help your offer stand out. If you're paying in cash, you can remove the appraisal contingency that is typically required when a buyer is financing a home. Home inspections contingencies are also common. Also, some buyers waive their home inspection, but we would strongly suggest against this.
Also helps writing a convincing letter to the seller. Let them know how much you love this home. Some sellers are really nostalgic about selling their homes, and they value a personal touch over a higher dollar amount. For example, if you're dealing with a seller who has lived in their home for like 30 years, and this is where they've raised their family, then they may be focused on selling their home to someone that will take good care of it and also can raise their family there. So writing a thoughtful letter to a seller that explains your situation and that you love their home can really make your offers stand out. Be complimentary of the property and the community, and also keep the letter short, but while still letting the seller know that you're a very serious buyer.
Once your offer has been accepted, your earnest deposit will be due, usually within 24 to 48 hours of mutual contract acceptance. Earnest money is also called good faith money because it's money you put down upfront to show the seller that you are serious about buying their home. The more earnest money you put down, the less likely you are to look like a flaky buyer who might back out without a reason. For example, someone who is putting down $1,000 earnest money looks less serious than someone who is putting down $4,000.
We hope you learned about the home buying process today, so please leave a comment below. We love hearing from you, and let us know if you have any questions we can answer for you next week. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great weekend. Happy house hunting. Bye-bye.
Bye.